Russia is on the defense, demanding that the U.S. provide proof of these hacking claims or to simply stop making these accusations.
ABC's Terry Moran is in Moscow with the latest. Terry, good morning to you.
Well, good morning, guys. Russians are watching in amazement, and some right here in the Kremlin with delight, no doubt, at the post-election chaos in the United States. But one thing you hear right away, people don't believe it. They don't believe President Obama's accusations. They don't believe the U.S. intelligence agencies. And of course, you'd expect that from the Kremlin. They're denying everything. And the Russian state media, dominated by the Putin regime, they're spinning all kinds of stories, the latest being that the hack was an inside job by disgruntled Democrats. But ordinary Russians, too, can't believe it, that the great American democracy could be so easily undermined by a hack. They just don't believe it. Another thing you hear, relief that Hillary Clinton lost. The Kremlin saw her as a dire threat to Russia's interests. She was seen as too hawkish on foreign policy and anti-Putin. They like Trump, but here, for most people, they don't know Trump. He is, for Russians in the Kremlin and around this country, a welcome change from President Obama. But like he is for people all over the world, for people in the United States, he is a wild card on the world stage. Dan and Paula?
Unpredictable. Terry Moran, thank you for reporting in from Moscow this morning. So let's bring in ABC's Martha Raddatz, who's in Washington, where she's going to be hosting this week, later this morning. Martha, good morning to you. In terms of proof from our intelligence agencies, what kind of proof can these folks provide? And can they show their cards without compromising national security with revealing sources and methods and the like?
Well, whatever proof they have, Dan, seems to have convinced all 17 intelligence agencies that there is no question it was the Russians. Some of that proof is markings that tell them where the hack originated, even time zones, language markings. But the classified intelligence that would link this to senior Russian officials and Vladimir Putin himself could include so-called signals intelligence, which is sophisticated eavesdropping. And that is the kind that won't be revealed because it would compromise, as you said, sources and methods.
Martha, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. You know, it kind of feels like we're backed into a corner here with our options for retaliation. President Obama has promised some sort of payback. So what are these options? And really, at the end of the day, how does this thing end with Russia?
Well, Paula, you heard what the president said on Friday. He said, our goal continues to be to send a clear message to Russia or others not to do this to us because we can do stuff to you. That stuff ranges from cyber attacks on Russian networks, which is risky because we're still vulnerable as well, more sanctions, which haven't really worked that well, or just something that will let Russia know we could escalate. But that's not the goal. As former CIA Director Dave Petraeus said at a conference this week, the question is, how subtle do you want it? How damaging do you want it? How do you try to end it here rather than just ratchet it up? And that, Paula and Dan, is what they're trying to figure out.
It's a tricky game, a fine line to walk. Martha Raddatz, thank you very much. And I want to remind everybody, Martha's got a big show coming up this morning. She's going to be speaking with DNC Chair Donna Brazile about Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, and former CIA Director and Trump Senior Advisor James Woolsey about how the new Trump administration will respond. It's all coming up on This Week later this morning, right here on ABC.